apparently Donny van de Beek, it was his birthday yesterday or something like that. So Ole Gunnar gave him extra 5 more minutes to play lah. Apparently.
Funny when you ask him about man of match, his first word was Jual.
Salam Satu Malaysia, welcome to Jom United. We are a Manchester United fan channel, and just to share with you guys, we are all united against racism, against discrimination, and against rich people taking advantage of our beloved sport just to make money. Okay, so today, if you notice our our dress code, we are a bit different today. Okay, so I'm green. Okay, this is super dry, not super league, friends. Okay, so this is the Glazers, right? Glazers out for me, Glazers out. Okay, so today we will be talking about our game over the weekend, Manchester United against Burnley. Of course, yeah, guys, we are all happy with the 3 points and whatnot. But then at the end of it, we'll be talking about the Super League. Okay, so it's a bit of potong steam. It's something like when we were small, that time we misbehaved in a family dinner or something, right? Yeah, nice food and stuff, but we know at the end of the day, we are going to go back, we're going to kind of whack by our parents. So it's the same feeling that we are going through now. Okay, so let's start off on a positive note. Okay, 3 points, pretty much quite a solid game yesterday. So, Josh, what's your input on the game yesterday?
Okay, the game yesterday was in a way interesting. I would say because it was it's something that of course games of two halves, right? First half and second half. And most importantly, if you ask me the 3 points, was I happy? Yes, I'm happy of the 3 points. I love the third goal so much because it displayed the Manchester United we love. But overall, we don't have the performance of champions as yet, right? So that is the basically like the very summarized version of the first half and the second half overall.
So, Doc, how about you? What's your opinion? You're probably super happy, Mr. Positive.
I think for me it's a big 3 points. Going into the last 6 minutes, we were 1-1, and I think what we can do is just win our games, put the pressure on City, especially when you have games ahead of the other team. We just put the points on the board, and then it's up to them to win their games, right? So it's good that we put pressure on them. It's now down to 8 points. If they lose their next game and it comes down to 5, anything can happen, right? Of course, we also have a couple of big games, but what we can do is just win our games, put the points on the board, and then hope for the best. They also have some distractions. The Cup final coming up. They've already lost the FA Cup, so another pressure there. Champions League semi-finals coming up as well. So who knows? Not over till the fat lady sings, they say, right?
Yes, this is something like back in 2000. Was it 2012? Is it 2012 when we were behind?
Yeah, that's the day, lah, boss.
we hope we see something like that, lah. Okay, Ayrton.
Let's hope so.
Ayrton, so what's your take of our game yesterday in general?
Well, obviously going into the match, was very happy because City cannot do the treble. So that's I'm very proud. I'm very happy for that. I think I prayed too much for that already. I think the good Lord heard my prayers.
How many candles you light?
Ever since they made it to the final, ever since they made it to the final of the League Cup, and after all the semi-finals, oh God, please lah. But yeah, looking at the game yesterday, so it always looked like we were going to score, and somehow I felt like it was kind of the United of old, where you kind of feel we're going to get something out of this. I think Marcus Rashford, he did some brilliant things yesterday. I know we're going to talk about Mason Greenwood later. So also my God, that boy, the world is his oyster, let's put it that way. Very proud of the team. As good free flow attacking football, other than the fridge that we had behind. Oh, that goal that he let in. Oh my God, 85 million still boggles my mind. Why he cost that much. There was some frustrating moments as well from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, so that I want to point out as well. Minus that one good cross he delivered inside, he still managed to do some a bit stupid things when it comes to overlapping and also delivering that final ball. But in all, I would say that the team performed well in the second half to at least get the 3 points. And minus there's some very negative things that were said during halftime. We all know what it was. But yeah, good win by the boys.
So Jai, So macam mana?
Ya.
Shopee buka hari ni, nak jual ke, nak beli ke, nak simpan ke, macam mana?
Actually pada last game semalam, game tu kita kita perlu menang saja, menang dan menang. Kita kena kekalkan momentum kemenangan tu saja. Yang lain pasal games, pasal a few individu, memang kita akan sentuh lah lepas ni. Tetapi yang pasti, yang paling I'm happy ialah 3 point. 3 point tu yang paling penting. Sebab kita kena kekalkan momentum kemenangan untuk pressure Manchester City ke atas. That is
I think that our team is actually, I mean, attacking wise, I think we are all coming together along. You can actually see improvement in, I would say, Greenwood, Rashford. Rashford yesterday was not so much of the petaling strip Mbappe anymore. I mean, he's actually looking up, doing proper runs, and actually not running straight into the defenders and stuff. Is it? So I think they're actually improving. Okay. During the first minute, we almost conceded a goal. I mean, we actually conceded a goal, but then thank God VAR was on our side. So let's go into the first topic of Henderson. Okay. For me, I feel our brother drank too much kopi jantan yesterday. He was Super Saiyan 4 or something like that. All energetic and stuff like that. Okay, so this one I'm going to ask Doc De Gea. What's your opinion as a goalkeeper yourself? What's your opinion on the things that he did yesterday? Like, is it necessary for him to actually run out? You know, there was like another time he actually ran out and hit into Lindelof and stuff. So, what's your opinion?
He looked a bit shaky yesterday, actually. Probably, you know, that first mistake got him a little bit shaky, and then maybe he was also trying to show that, you know, he's still in the game, proactive and things like that. But I think the first one, very bad judgment. He was right at the edge of the box. He came all the way. And when you come out, you need to win the ball, right? And he totally missed it, and he was not into the open goal. He was saved by the offside. I think there were times where he did come out to clear the ball as well. It would have actually been better to stay on the line. And these are the things I do point out. He's a wonderful goalkeeper, a good shot stopper. And sometimes you need a different mentality to be playing for a club like United, especially number one. You know, sometimes you're not in the game, right? And you got to stay that way. So he's trying to, you know, get into the game, trying to get into the feel of the game when he really needed to just stay on his line. I think there was another time where he actually came on and then he quickly went back, you know. So these are things that he probably will learn over time, and that is why I say he's still not the number one for me.
He would have probably observed more from De Gea and learn from De Gea. I think maybe he's trying to prove a point that he's the man. You know, he's like, you know, when people always condemn him, condemn De Gea that he's not very proactive. He don't actually come out and get the ball. So maybe he's trying to do the extreme end, you know, trying to show off or something like that. What do you think?
Sometimes you believe the hype. You know, people say he's good at his feet. He comes out, he's very commanding in his box. Then sometimes maybe he's just going out to prove a point. You know, whether subconsciously or consciously, you actually sort of believe that hype and, you know, then try to demonstrate it when it's actually not necessary to do so. And I mean, that's what we see with De Gea. He's more, you know, very stable, very sensible, very relaxed goalkeeper.
Okay, they always say that De Gea, he's not commanding of his box and stuff like that. And then, okay, but then going back to yesterday's game, we concede again from the set piece. Okay, so Josh, do you think, right, what's the reason we are always having these kind of difficulties to stop goals from going in from set pieces and stuff? Okay, and then also on top of that, I need you to comment a bit on your 400 bucks Jersey Maguire on the goal that conceded yesterday. Who was at fault? Okay, over to you, Josh.
I see this defense. I don't know whether if it's the personnel problem or is it the defending coach problem or something. I think that's really a big problem in the defending coach. You know, yesterday was 3 United players against 1 Tarkowski. And the Tarkowski can win everyone and get the header. And that wasn't the first time when that goal. After that, the 2-3 set pieces, all he was getting it, you know. So cannot be something wrong with personnel. I think of course initiative must be there, but the defending coach must be something wrong somewhere. And I think that was our biggest flaw, and we always concede these things on set pieces, especially like, you know, like you see like West Brom will have the long throws, then Burnley will have things like this, then Leicester will come up with things like that. So that is our biggest gap, and then what I say, if you ask me who is at fault, right, of course the man at the back, Maguire. If he wants to go for a ball, number one, if you're a captain and you assign someone to that particular person, no, you will never see 3 person going to the same header. At least two to mark. Sometimes the man marker and the position defender will get the ball in the air, right? You will never see 3 defenders going to 1 person only. If that happens and still they lose it, definitely something wrong with the set piece manager or set piece or defending coach. So I don't blame particular one person. I blame the whole defense. But if someone were to take the ownership of that fault, I think it's Maguire, because even the goalkeeper can't do that, because he was just at the penalty area, just outside the 6-yard box and things like that. So yeah, I think Maguire should take it. And in regards to Maguire, as you know, we're talking about masterclass. You see, at the beginning also, he couldn't even get his defense right, and then all these mistakes come from set pieces. So yeah, I think if anyone, he should take the blame now. And I'm very critical of him after that 400 ringgit jersey, for sure.
Can I ask a question? Do you think there was a foul there? And for me, if it was a foul, it'll be harsh because Maguire had a very similar goal disallowed against Burnley in away leg, right? When he actually scored from a header, and then he was disallowed because they said he was holding the defender down. And I was pissed off because I thought that was a goal. So even yesterday, it is a goal, definitely. But do you think that, we could absorb some blame? Because from one angle, it actually looked like Tarkowski pushed him down and climbed over him to head it in. Like, I'm not saying it's not a goal. It is a goal because the same thing happened with Maguire, and I was pissed that he was disallowed.
Yeah, I think that's rubbish. You shouldn't be even thinking of a foul. You're a defender that marking on the striker. Second, the foul should, when you think of that, it's going to be a foul, that should only be secondary thoughts. You must win the ball first. Whether the arm is up, whether the this is up. You see, like Vidic, his head is down. People whack him from the corner also. Of course, there's a foul, but he still wins the ball. So, foul or not, I think that's a second thought. But you have to win the ball in your defense. You cannot leave 50. So that question is for me very subjective. I didn't even go deep down to see whether it's a foul or not, but number one priority is to win that ball in the middle of the ball. That is so dangerous area, especially in between the defense and the goalkeeper.
And also, I think this is not something new also for us. At set pieces, we've been shaky for the past 2 seasons, 1-2 seasons actually. Anyway, I'm not advocating betting or whatever it is, but if you check out the odds, the payout for United losing a goal through set piece is the lowest payout, So that means the odds of it happening is very high.
And then another reason probably is because this Maguire, he was stationary, you see. So the other guy came running straight at him. So maybe that one makes it looks like it's more like vicious than it's supposed to be. I think the other Burnley situation was a bit different, I think Maguire was just standing. I don't know what they like to do. They'll be like just bunny hopping, waiting for the ball and stuff like that. So don't know, a bit off.
They're not commanding, they're not really commanding of their own penalty area. That's what and we look like players like Diaz at Man City. You look at Van Dijk at Liverpool, they're commanding. Corners come in, they really go for it, with full out. That's what you need.
So maybe they're talking also about zonal marking and stuff. Of course, we tend to do a lot of zonal marking. So basically, it's like one player. They are not man marking. So they are basically all assigned to a certain spot. Yeah. So that's why probably the confusion happens there. Zonal marking, I think Liverpool is another team that actually does it, but they do it successfusy. Other than that, I think...
No, but even Liverpool had a lot of problems early on when they were doing the zonal marking at corners. They used to concede a lot of corners. If you ask me, I think zonal marking at corners is not the best way to do things. It's still a man-to-man is much better because you get to grips with your marker. They can't get a free run, you see. Exactly. When you're having a zonal defense, they actually can get a free run and a proper leap like what we saw with Tarkowski.
Yeah. Exactly. Also, I want to question Maguire. So whether he's too soft sometimes. He seems like a strong guy, but the guy goes down too easily and gets overpowered.
He's a bloody lembab bugger, I tell you. Lembab pula, I tell you.
If that was Phil Jones, right, that would be the end of it. Phil Jones also is something like that, right? Phil Jones.
It's like, when you eat tau fu fa can break so easy.
Actually,
80 million tau fu fa.
You see, if you want to compare, I tell you, Steve Bruce and Gary Pallister drank beer after games and they were fat as fuck, I can say. But they still can defend like a tank, man. But then this guy with all these new nutritions all coming in, all and stuff
exactly.
So slow, no immobility, can't even jump. So, oh my God. Want to compare to Steve Bruce, who has a pint after every game. Please, come on.
I think he's more like confused lah. Everything is confused lah. I
Yeah.
think now
Yeah.
the defense and another thing. Okay, I want to touch on next is the midfield. Okay, midfield CDM combination. Okay, Jai, apa pendapat kamu tentang midfield kita semalam? Let's start with first half lah. The first half, bila Fred dan McTominay, that time Pogba main advanced role. What is your opinion on our midfield?
Kalau pendapat I macam game semalam, Fred dengan McTominay tu dia tak ada idea tau. Dia kurang idea untuk untuk buat satu macam mana position dia, macam lebih kurang pada apa pendapat I bila dia main diorang, Fred dengan McTominay, diorang tak ada lack of idea. Diorang macam terlalu melindungi defend tau. Melindungi defend. Jadi idea diorang kurang. Bila idea diorang kurang, bila sebab kebiasaannya bila beli buat attacking ke apa, whatever, diorang akan try daripada midfield. That's why the error come. For me lah. Because that diorang tak maksudnya diorang tak maksudnya idea untuk diorang attack ataupun untuk defend tidak ada. Then I nak sentuh pasal Maguire dengan Lindelof lah. Macam I dah cakap sebelum ni, 2-3 before this, diorang ni kurang persefahaman. Dia mengharapkan Lindelof mengharapkan Maguire. That's why jadi macam tu. Macam kan the first goal kan, yang masa outside yang tak dikira tu, sepatutnya Maguire dah boleh kill bola tu. Tetapi dia mengharapkan Lindelof untuk kill bola tu. That's why nasib baik tak gol lah, offside lah. That's why diorang tak ada persefahaman tu tidak ada lagi. Back 4, that's why sebelum ni I bagi tahu back 4 tu kurang lagi. Kita mengharapkan Luke Shaw je yang berfunction sekarang ni. Wan-Bissaka macam semalam I pun tak tahulah, dia attack lepas tu cross tak apa-apa, mengarut, lepas tu turun bawah pun dia mengarut. I tak tahu apa dia buat, tapi kurang persefahaman tu yang memang paling utama lah, yang tak ada sekarang ni dekat Manchester United. Itu je problem kita.
Kalau Wan-Bissaka defensive wise semalam, defensive wise I rasa dia okay. Cuma going forward, you saw yang ingat dia dia buat satu cross tu, bola melantun sedikit. Itu lawak, cute gila.
Nasib baik tu.
Wan-Bissaka
nasib baik. Nasib baik tu.
Okay,
tapi dia punya cross, dia punya tu memang kena lag.
Kena improve lah. Kena improve daripada sini.
Improve, yes.
I realised even from our goals yesterday, it's coming from the flanks. The speed is actually coming from the flanks. You're coming from Rashford, Greenwood and stuff. Our CDM is just too slow. It's really just too slow. They will always take more than one touch. They cannot just do one touch pass and stuff like that. So I really think that if we can fix that, right, then we will see something really magnificent. So maybe Doc, what's your opinion on our, because you're the, how to say, you really support the idea of a double pivot. So what's your opinion on our defensive midfield?
That's up for debate, right? But yeah, I think sometimes the criticism of the double pivot, even from our own fans, sometimes I think it's a bit too much. Because if you look at it, right, it does allow your fullbacks to press up high. You see Bissaka sometimes way past the half line, trying to press and win the ball back. That is fine. But I think you're right. I think everyone here is right. They need to do more with the ball. They need to be faster. They need to transition faster. And again, nobody takes any long shots. You don't see Fred taking long shots. You don't see McTominay taking long shots.
Exactly.
If we were Paul Scholes or David Beckham or those kind of guys, right? The moment the ball comes to them at the edge of the box and they are free, they pop a shot.
Exactly.
Here we are still trying to cycle back to the wings, or trying to push into the front three. You just need, if you're open, take a shot. Exactly. But I guess none of them are confident. Fred will probably balloon the ball to the corner flag. McTominay will probably hit the first guy in the defense. So maybe it's a confidence thing, but you need to try. Even Pogba doesn't try that much nowadays, right?
Probably to a certain point, maybe it's from the coaching bench that stopped them from actually doing something like that. I'm really, because there are so many times yesterday, right, when McTominay got the ball above the midfield, the midline, right? It's like he can actually do a long pass. then I'm sure
Yeah.
that people like Greenwood or Rashford or whatnot, right? I mean, like Rashford, I mean, yeah, he's always offside, but his runs, he actually, you know, you always see countless time Lindelof doing these kind of passes and stuff, and then Rashford will run forward. But McTominay just don't do this kind of stuff. I don't know why. Eriton, what's your
Yeah.
opinion on that, Eriton?
Honestly speaking, you know, like McTominay is not the smartest player on the field, but he works hard. But then again, you need to use a bit of brains sometimes when you play the game also. And sometimes I feel that's what's lacking from McTominay. He'll work his socks off, but his intelligence is just not there. And some more, to add, we got another Dungu on the left side of him, whose name is Fred. Dua-dua pun tak ada otak kadang-kadang dia orang main. So what else can you do? Jual. So what else can you do? Rather than you know, pass to people who are capable to try to, you know, feed the strikers in front there. I think their job right there is just to make the midfield as busy as possible and feed the ball towards the players towards the flank, like what Doc said earlier, you know, like playing the double pivot encourages the right back and the left back to make those overlaps. But the good thing is we got one fella who knows to cross the ball, which is Luke Shaw. The other fella who can't cross the ball to save his bloody life lah. They just lack creativity lah. You know, I long for the day that what's his name, McTominay can learn a thing or two from Michael Carrick to actually feed the ball properly, because his work rate, Scott McTominay, honestly speaking, is second to none. I will still think that he will make it into Fergie's team if he was playing during Fergie's time, because he reminds me a bit of Darren Fletcher, where he'll work his socks off. It's just that he just doesn't have, you know, he's just not using his brains sometimes. It's frustrating to watch him play sometimes.
I think just to add on, there are a couple of things they need to add to their game now. You know, first of all is the long shots. Second of all is that cross-field raking ball. Nobody can do it except for Pogba. You know, if they're on the right, they'll be just passing on the right. There's no way they're going to swing one ball right across. Okay, that's the second thing. And the third thing, like Elton said as well, you know, it's like sometimes when they have the ball in midfield, Rashford and Greenwood make that initial run, you know, but they don't get the ball and then they'll be like far outside, because you know, those days, Carrick and all, the moment you make that run, pop, that ball is over the top for you. You know, and I guess none of them have that capability as well, or it's something they need to develop.
Okay, Josh.
Yeah, I think,
Oh, sorry, Eriton, go on first.
Yeah, I think Scott McTominay, given time, I think he can develop that, but I lost all hope with Fred. Fred is not good enough to put on United shirt.
Fred is a pure destructor. He only can break up. And even that, you know, he can only pass around him, nothing more than that.
To be frank, right?
And he shows that he's doing a lot of things, you know.
No, personally, I think this one, right, it's going to be everyone against me. Seriously, if I were to choose between McTominay and Fred, I prefer Fred, you know, seriously, I prefer Fred.
I know lah, Dom, come on lah.
Serious.
Please,
Because McTominay,
we are watching a different game, Dom.
Dom, dia nak kena jual lah, Dom, dia nak kena jual lah.
Ini kalau jual dua jual, kita buy one free one, dua pun pergi tau. Because if you ask me, right, I think Fred, I mean, yeah, both of them, they are hardworking and stuff, but yeah, Fred cannot pass forward and whatnot. But I think Fred is more, how to say, it contributes more to the team than I would say McTominay at this point. Seriously, McTominay, even like defensive wise, right, he's confused. You know, if you all notice, he tend to do the bunny hop and stuff. You know, sometimes when he's confused, when he's tracking back, right, he'll do the bunny hop, whether he should go or not and stuff like that. I don't know. It's like recently when I watch McTominay play, right, I'm quite frustrated with him. Okay, but anyway,
I mean, if you look at the semi-finals, FA Cup semi-finals, right, both teams play with a double pivot. Both teams play with two defensive midfielders. Chelsea, both, right? But you look at the difference now. Look at the difference that people like Rodri, even look at Kante. You know, they offer a lot when they win the ball. When they win the ball, they either can swiftly pass it off or they can take it forward.
Yes,
that's the difference. And I think for me, the easiest comparison to show a big difference, right? Declan Rice. Look at the difference he makes to that West Ham engine room.
Yes.
I tell you, fantastic. He wins the ball. He spreads the passes. He can even pop that long pass through to Lingard and Mikel Antonio. So that is the difference between a proper defensive mid who can do things than Fred and sometimes McTominay. McTominay, I still got hope for him, you know, because he is, you know, at least improve his goal scoring and things like that. But Fred sometimes wins the ball, yes, but just nothing much.
So you know, if I can put it in local terms, Fred main kadang-kadang dia main macam kelang kabut tau. Like dia act busy tapi sebenarnya tak busy sebenarnya. And his first start make Lukaku look world class lah. Let's put it that way lah.
I don't know. Okay, so we agree to disagree on that. Like just like my favorite number 9 also, everyone is against me, but I stand firm. Okay. Okay, so
You're the president, bro.
You notice or not, Dominic, how suddenly the attack has come together, scoring goals.
I don't know. Let's move on. We're running out of time. We're running out of time.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Because from the flanks and stuff, they are more intelligent with their runs and stuff. You see, because if
I
it
just
was
had to
another
throw that
player in the middle, it would have been the same, or probably more goals. You see, because the other player is much more fit. Okay. So we move on to our next. Paul Pogba. Okay, Josh, which position do you think it's most suitable for Paul Pogba at the moment?
Over the years, right, I think Paul Pogba, I think he still is one of the best like box-to-box midfielder. I still feel a box-to-box midfielder because I think he is most influential in the middle because he has the ability to spread play through balls, switching from from defend to attack quite fast. I think his best ability is that. Whether if it's left or right, I think predominantly left, where he played for Juve, he started performing ultimately at his best, at his peak. But for France, he's very, very influential in the middle. And I think for United, with the people we have, with the formation we have, I think alongside either he play alongside the DM or play up front behind the striker, where Bruno plays, and they swap around. I think that would be the best position for Bruno, either behind the striker or a box-to-box. Don't play a double pivot, play a box-to-box midfielder role, go up, at least get the ball from Fred, at least he can straight away switch that play, do a through ball, things like that. So I still feel that the central role is his most influential position for Paul Pogba.
So Jai, pendapat kamu, Paul Pogba kebelakangan ini dia ada main left wing. So apa pendapat you tentang position kalau Paul Pogba di left wing?
Sometimes kadang-kadang dia dalam keadaan yang bagus, kadang-kadang dia tidak dalam keadaan yang bagus. Tetapi untuk position di antara Pogba dengan Bruno Fernandes, dia main peranan ialah Fred dengan McTominay. Dia ada kaitan tu. Kalau diorang berfunction, Pogba akan menyelah dengan Bruno Fernandes. Apa-apa pun kita kena cari midfield yang terbaik yang antara McTominay dengan Fred tu. Baru diorang boleh menyelah skill, sebab kita tahu ability Pogba macam mana, Bruno Fernandes macam mana, especially Paul Pogba lah, sebab dia boleh pegang bola, dia boleh cross bola, dia boleh hantar bola, sebab dia boleh berlari dengan bola. Tapi masalah dia, kita punya midfield tu je, McTominay dengan Fred. Kalau diorang berfunction, maybe Pogba akan jadi Pogba boom. That's why I cakap tadi.
Just add on to that. Like for example, on the left wing, when we see Pogba play, right, the players are usually closely integrated with him is Luke Shaw, which we know is fantastic, and then of course Edinson Cavani. So you got these two players, and then from that position, he's far away from McTominay and Fred. So that's why I think probably like even myself, when I see him playing that position, it's like he's so good, he's so fantastic, he moves so smooth like water and stuff like that, and then the passes that he do to Cavani and stuff like that. So maybe Ayrton, you maybe want to add on to that, Ayrton?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at yesterday's game also, right, when he was moved towards the number 6 role, he kind of got a bit idle, because like Rashford was actually doing very well in the left wing. But yeah, I feel playing on the left side, it's the left side of center, LCM, let's put it that way, on the left side of midfield, you can see that itu masanya Paul Pogba menyerlah lah, orang cakap lah. Itu masa yang passing dia, his passes, he can replay, he can link up with Bruno very well. So he try that 1-2 passes, and then he can dip the ball inside. He can do basically everything lah, from the midfield lah. I mean, like, but the only problem is you have to depend on the situation, like which teams we are playing against. I think yesterday also, if we put him on the left side, I probably wouldn't have worked as much. I think using Rashford at that role at that time, using his pace was more suitable at that time. But yeah, that's honestly, that's a good headache to have, let's put it that way. But yeah, I think moving forward, Paul Pogba will play a more box role behind Bruno Fernandes, because like I still think the two pivots will have one more defensive, one a bit more up front with the anchor being in front, which is Bruno Fernandes. It's like a diamond, let's put it that way. That's the most suitable role I can see for Pogba play, because he can do stuff at the back Yes, defending is not that great, as put it that way, but his physique is much more stronger than Bruno, where he can do much more in defense, and then feeding the ball, within that triangle. I think, yeah, playing a bit behind in that back role, next to Fred or McTominay. God forbid it's Fred. That will be his best role lah.
Ouch, ouch. Okay. Let's move on to our strike force. Okay. Mason Greenwood and Rashford and Cavani. I think our strike force at this moment, right? Okay, yes, Marcel is not playing now, but I think they're actually finally
Thank God for that.
Yeah, they are more intelligent the way that they play. Okay, so Josh, what's your opinion on our strike force yesterday?
Well, the strike force, I will speak for the second half lah. I would say the strike force was amazing. I would say there was synergy, right, of the creating of goals, the creating from the midfield to the attack. So I think I give full credit for Rashford and more to Greenwood. I think Greenwood, as I said in Jom United, and I would say it again, this guy is going to do wonders in the last few games. All right. The problem with him is consistency. All right. So the strike force has been great, like you see, but what we were needed most was Cavani at the front. Remember, there was some misses in the front where Greenwood missed it. You see, if Cavani played there, he would have known the ball would be coming there, even though it was offside lah. But you finish this kind of goals.
Sorry, I got to interrupt you.
Was very weird.
Even Martial would have scored that, man, with eyes closed.
Yeah. He will hit the defender and go in.
Go on. I just got to put that in. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So I think the only thing we are lacking, if Cavani gets injured, or if Rashford's off form, or if Greenwood doesn't play like what he does before, that's where the problem comes. But on their peak, this front three can do wonders. They are literally one of the very fierce strike force if they are all on their peak. You see, you have Greenwood, you have Rashford and Cavani up front, with Bruno at the back. I think it's frightening to play against them, especially with their pace. So I hope they stay up there and stay consistent and they're up there. If one or two of them close down, then we'll even have problem with West Brom.
I mean, it's very clear. It's very clear. The difference between the first half and the second half was Cavani, right? The first half, Rashford tried playing through the center, then he swapped with Greenwood, but you can clearly see, right, the two of them, none of them are a true center forward to make that kind of runs that Cavani does. Now, the moment Cavani came on in the second half, he makes those runs. Why do you think Rashford is very free to take on the man on the left? Because Cavani has already made the run to pull one man away. You see, sometimes in games, right, even when he's playing as a centre forward, he drops to the left. There's always two men on him. So he cut one, he'll run straight into the second one. But yesterday, once Cavani came and pulled that man, he is one-on-one. Rashford one-on-one, he can take on many people easily, So there was a big difference. And that is the key to the front three starting to perform. Cavani coming into game after game and scoring, and also making those runs to give Greenwood and Rashford a lot of time on the ball, more time on the ball.
Okay, just to add one more element, Donny van de Beek. Okay, apparently Donny van de Beek, it was his birthday yesterday or something like that. So Ole Gunnar gave him extra 5 more minutes to play apparently.
This one I think we leave for Josh to comment
Jai. Okay,
memang
Jai,
jadi dia.
Pendapat you Van de Beek bila dia masuk dan gol ketiga, pada pendapat saya Van de Beek memang dia hidden gem lah. Kita perlu masukkan dia secepat mungkin dan bagi dia main lama sikit. So apa pendapat you tentang performance Van de Beek semalam?
Kalau kita nak tengok player yang ada otak, macam itulah Van de Beek sebenarnya. Cuma
betul.
Serius saya, sebab dia punya larian dan dia punya hantaran memang dia ada plan tau. Dia ada plan macam aku dapat bola ni aku nak buat apa. Dia adalah antara player yang macam tu. Dia ada plan. Tapi yalah, dia memang hari jadi dia 2 hari lepas kalau tak silap ke semalam. Macam tu lah.
Yalah, 5
tapi
minit.
Hari jadi dia memang hari jadi.
5 minit lepas ni setengah jam.
Tapi untuk Van de Beek memang dia perlu dimasukkan lah. Kita perlu diberi peluang untuk tunjukkan dia punya ni. Cuma kalau you nak tengok dia score, memang dia takkan score punya. Dia jarang akan score. Cuma dia akan buat macam semalam dia akan bagi hantaran, dia akan buat larian, macam tu. Tapi I nak sentuh sikit yang pasal Cavani. Memang kalau Cavani masuk awal sikit, kita dah dapat gol lah. Kita dah dapat gol awal sikit. Tapi disebabkan semalam masalah dia sebab bila dia masuk, baru kita nampak seorang striker yang tulen dekat situ. Kalau kita nak harapkan Greenwood dengan Rashford. Sebab memang Cavani adalah salah satu striker yang tulen. Memang kita perlukan dia.
Masalah dia cuma fitness dia saja. That's why I think Ole Gunnar kena workload. The only problem, if that guy is maybe a few years younger, I think he would have played every minute and every game he'll be playing. But just that his fitness level is not there. That is the only issue. You see? That's the
Agreed.
Okay, maybe we do a quick round robin. Okay, so the man of the match. Okay, we start with Josh. Who is the man of the match yesterday?
I would say Mason Greenwood, of course, because not only of his 2 goals, I think because of his play from the first to 90th minute, I think he's the most threat for Burnley, I would say, in that sense. Mason Greenwood for me, man of the match against Burnley.
Okay, Doc, who's your man of the match?
I'm going to go with a different opinion, unpopular opinion. Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford. Almost, I was going to say Fred, but I thought better, Jai might sell me next. I think Rashford in the second half took it upon himself to try and get us back to the game. Granted, Greenwood scored the goals, and Greenwood also had a decent game. But I think the guy who really took the game by the scruff of the neck yesterday and brought us back single-handedly was Rashford. There were many runs on the left. The way he cut past a few guys, created chances. For me, he made a difference.
Agree. Okay, Ayrton. So who's your man of the match?
Yeah, I agree with Doc. Marcus Rashford yesterday, man. My God, his nutmegs and stuff. I think he had like 2 or 3 nutmegs. Yeah. Beautiful to watch.
One Ronaldinho move.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful to watch. Yeah. Kudos to Mason Greenwood as well. He played a very good game. But Marcus Rashford, he was trying things, and you love to see that from Marcus Rashford, lah. Like we always say that he lacked the killer instinct, but yesterday I think that final that end product that he's still missing, it's getting there, lah. That's that way, lah. And I was glad to see the way he performed yesterday. It was beautiful to watch.
We always look more dangerous when Rashford is on form,
Yes.
When he is, in fact, yeah.
Another thing about Rashford is that guy never give up, no matter how, even with an injury or what. I mean, regardless, last time, we were saying that he's a petaling straight Mbappe, running straight into walls, but actually, you can actually see he's trying. He never put his head down. He's always trying, you see. Okay, Jai, man of the match.
Match of the match is Rashford lah, nombor 1. Nombor 2, Cavani. Nombor 3, Greenwood. So, Rashford nombor 1 lah.
Even personally, for
funny
myself also,
when you ask him about man of the match, his first word was Jual.
Mine also, Rashford will be my man of the match also lah. So after this, we won't be talking about the petaling streak Mbappe. We'll be talking about Mbappe being the petaling streak Rashford very soon.
Now we got petaling streak Manuel Neuer also, or Dean Henderson.
Okay, guys, we are
always
actually,
number 1.
we are actually running out of time. So actually, we are supposed to touch on the Super League, but then I think we will create a separate episode altogether for the Super League. We'll get more people in with their opinions because I think we have a lot of passionate fans about this. So I'm sure a lot of us, we got a lot of things to say about this. Okay, so for those who are new to this channel, please like, subscribe, and share our videos. Turn on the bell notification at the bottom so you'll get a notice when we release new videos. Okay, so thank you guys for being a part of the Jom Simbang United tonight. So we will see you guys again soon with our next topic. Okay, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Jom United.
United.
Jom United.
Jom United.
Okay, guys. See you guys. Okay.